Today we're here at Wynnum Wolves, who are celebrating their centenary year this year. I'm talking to President Rabiah Krayem. You've been president at Wolves since 2019. What attracted you to take up this position?
Well, I think, relocating from regional Queensland and come down to Brisbane, my kids were playing football and, it's not bad to be connected with a club, one of the oldest clubs in Brisbane. So it was really more the central location, but importantly the people that are behind the club. So it's been a great honour to be as president of the club and, obviously for a club 100 years, it has a lot to do and a lot to offer.
And what is your vision for the next few years as president?
I think the goal that we set ourselves as a committee started, 18 months ago, and that it was to improve the facilities at Carmichael Park. And, we've done a lot of work in the last 12 months. But I think the key is to make sure that we don't forget what started this club, that is the community club. And one of the key challenges for us is reducing our fees. And for the 2021 season, we've been able to reduce those fees anywhere from 10 to 20% for the players. And, that's our biggest goal, is to try and make football affordable for the kids, in particular at the community level.
And the club has a proud history of producing Socceroos. Could you tell us about some of the biggest names to come out of Wolves?
Yeah, it's interesting when you go through the club and as you go through the archives and the old photos, and you realise that Socceroo number 9 was a Wynnum Wolves player, Clary Shenton, back in 1922, played for the Socceroos in a tour of New Zealand. And our last Socceroo is Ben Halloran. So we have produced a number of Socceroos, and the other aspect of it is we've produced the Matildas, and our last Matilda is currently the Brisbane Roar women's player, Claire Polkinghorn, who started her junior career at the club. So the club has a proud tradition, and I think as we go through this year, we will unearth more talented players that have been lost over the 100 years that I think will give prominence to what this club means.
What has kept the club going for so long?
I think when you look at the history of this club, it's had a lot of good people, going back, and clubs don't survive 100 years without a strong volunteer base. And, for it to survive so many challenges over the last 100 years and still be here, to want, I think, only a handful of clubs that turn 100 or are 100, it's the people behind the club. And I think that's fundamentally the origins of the club, and what will continue to keep the club going for another 100 years is to ensure that we've got a strong community base, strong volunteer base, and some people who are passionate for the game, and it's about the club, not any particular individual.
And what has been the biggest moment for the club in the last 100 years?
Oh, look, I think there's probably a number of highlights. Most importantly is we're still around after 100 years. Like any club, it goes through its highs and lows, and importantly, that to survive 100 years, is a lot. And I think being here after 100 years is probably the single biggest achievement, with all the challenges that have happened. So I don't think there's any one stands out. It's a whole lot. What we have behind us here is our facilities and what will put us in good stead for the next 100 years. So I think celebrating our 100th year is our biggest achievement.
And what are you doing to celebrate?
We're looking at producing a centenary book. So at the moment we've got a whole old Wynnum Wolves committee who are looking at the history of the club. We intend to produce a book which will release at the end of the year. We've got a couple of major functions to happen throughout the year. I think what we want to do is acknowledge the people who've been involved with this club. And I think one thing we don't do well in football is celebrate. And there's a lot of clubs who've achieved a lot, but we don't celebrate it. And we should be proud in Queensland that we've got clubs like ourselves, Mitchelton, who were last year, Toowong, I think Grange Thistle, Oxley, who've all turned that 100. And we should celebrate and acknowledge that these clubs are a foundation of football in the state, and celebrate with them. And we intend to celebrate our 100th year, not only just with us, but all our other clubs who've turned 100.